episode 66 of Whole Lotta Craft. On today's episode, we'll learn all about painting, and we'll also see what the ladies have been working on since our last podcast. Join us!
So hello.
Hello, hello.
It is still summer.
You make it sound, you sound sad.
No, my brain is just, there's been too many camps this week, and so my head is like, where do I go? What do I have to get? When do I have to be there? And I've been enjoying the quiet, the calm. So this week's thrown me off a little bit.
The calm has thrown you off.
No, the not calm has thrown me off.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the quiet of not having children in the house.
Well, you'd think that would be a benefit of the situation, but
But when they all have to be there at different times and you have to pick them up at different
and they're
times.
in different places,
Yes,
yeah. If they were all at the same spot, that would be different. But they're not. And so my head is just like, where do I have to go? And, it's midweek, so my reserves are dwindling.
Winding down. Yes.
How's your week been?
It's good, I guess. I'm getting ready to go on vacation.
Again, that's so exciting. We aren't going
Yes.
anywhere this summer, and you're like jet setter.
Well, that's me.
Where are you going this time?
Cape Cod.
Oh, nice. That's right. You told me about that.
And I actually bought myself a little thing to take.
Some watercolors.
Yeah, we're actually going to talk about painting today. But when I was on my last vacation, my friend had this really cute little watercolor set. And I just enjoy watercolors.
Yeah.
I don't do them often, but I enjoy them. So it's really cool. It's by Koi. And I got it at Hobby Lobby. And so it comes with this little palette that you can pull out and stick on there. And then it has this little blotter here. And also it has this water brush. So you can put the water inside the brush. So you don't have to take a whole cup of water with you.
Oh.
And then you just squeeze it when you want water on the brush. So
how do you wash the colors out then? Or do you just...
yeah, that's a great question. Probably you blot them out on here. I didn't get that far yet.
That's cool though.
Yeah, I want to get actually another little brush to put in here. Because I probably can take a cup of water, but...
Oh, I'm sorry, that's not the box.
No, this is my watercolor pad that I bought to go with it. But this is the box.
Okay. Oh, fun. So you can put the...
Yeah, so you can prop this up and then put your paper right here.
That's neat.
Especially, I think it's postcard size paper because this is a little bit bigger. But you could prop up your little canvas there.
Oh, that's a very neat little portable thing.
It is. Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to use it. And actually, it also has... A couple of them have this. It also has this thing on the bottom. So you can hold it like this.
Oh,
too,
fun.
if you want to. There's like a little
You put your
loop
hands through it so you can...
Yeah, so you can...
Oh, so it's a little more stable.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'm excited to use it.
Was it expensive?
Well, it was $36, but I had a coupon.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
well, that's not bad though. I mean, considering what it could cost to buy all the supplies to start
Right.
a new hobby, that's not bad to get everything kind of all in one.
That's true. Yeah,
then
even
you're
if you want
not-
to try it, you have everything,
Yeah.
and you have all you have to do is get your paper.
Because then sometimes if you get like all the individual supplies, then you have to get a storage chest to go with it,
Right,
And if
exactly.
you don't like it,
Yeah, and this actually has a lot of colors in it.
Yeah.
A lot of them have 8 or 16. This one actually has 24 colors.
That's nice.
Which is so nice.
That's a nice
They're
shade.
so pretty right now because they haven't been used.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I don't want to use them yet. They're so pretty. And I'm just going to come back and the whole thing's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
It's going to be paint on everything because I'm a
So
messy
you're
person.
gonna look just like that person with their individual dots of color.
Exactly,
all
and my beautiful
neatly.
You're
You're still life.
Yes, exactly. So
Fun. Very
so
fun.
yeah, so I haven't worked on anything, but this is what I'm working towards.
Yeah.
So when I come back, we can see if I manage to actually do anything.
Oh, you will, because you'll have at least a little bit of downtime.
Yes. Yeah.
There'll be reading breaks or
and
something.
I like this size pad. I love watercolor paper.
Yeah.
So.
Fun.
Yeah. So how about you? What are you working toward or on or with?
Well, I signed up for a little thing on Facebook. It's a 5 shawls in 5 days experiment. No, they're minis. They're tiny in her face.
Guys are crazy. You knitters.
No, they're this big. They're teeny. It's just to practice different shawl shapes. So they're little teeny swatches.
Interesting.
It's just like you're doing.
So they're
like,
for dolls.
Well, I don't know what I'm going to do with it ultimately, but like this would be the beginning. If I wanted to make it bigger, I would just keep doing the same pattern until it was grown-up size.
Oh,
That's that's how it starts. So, but what this particular designer is doing, I'll post her name because I can't think of it off the top of my head. She's got 5 different shapes and she's emailing them once a day so that we can practice. Here's how you make this shape, and this is what it looks like if you make this modification. And here's the second day's one, which I have on. You're not gonna be able to see it, but it's like a triangle here, a triangle here, and a triangle here. So it's a slightly different way of doing your increases. And it's I think I can do most of them, but to see them in small scale and just, here's these 2 lines and here's how you do it is just kind of wrapping my mind around the construction of it. So that down the road I can be like, oh, I want mine to look like that. I know better how to do it because I've practiced on something like this. So
it's an interesting concept to do it small.
Yeah, and then you can kind of see how different colors play in that shape. This is one of the yarns we got from our swap, so I'm having fun with that. So I've been doing that this week. That's been kind of it doesn't take a lot of effort, not a lot of thought, so I'm just kind of doing that for fun. And because I'm plugging along I've got my doodler a little farther. I've got my border almost finished.
Oh, that's so pretty.
Isn't that fun?
I like it.
That cable is killing me. I'm everything about this I've just had so much fun with. And this I thought I wasn't gonna like it at all because a garter stitch cable is a little bit. It's not standard. It's not traditional, and I thought I don't like it, but I think it's really fun.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
So I'm plugging along on that, and so this is still part of the knit along, and you guys can still join me, and I think there's maybe a few other people knitting out there, but that's how mine is going. So when I don't want to do this, I do this, and then I always have a sock. I always have a sock.
You always have a sock.
But I was extremely flattered. Sarah's Texture Crafts, Sarah the designer or dyer of that particular brand, we kind of contacted each other a little bit ago and are putting together a collaboration using
fun.
One of her socks, and she has sent me a skein of this beautiful plum.
Ooh,
dusty
nice.
plum she called it. Shibori dyed, which is really fun because I haven't tried that before. It's kind of like a tie-dye, so it's got white speckles in it instead of lights and darks.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a little teeny toe. The beginnings of my part of the collaboration. Hers is done, and here's mine. I'm going to design a sock to go with hers, and then there will be future giveaways, coupon codes, etc. that she's doing for us as part of the collaboration. So that's really, I appreciate Sarah's willingness to work with us and how beautiful. I mean, I am loving this yarn already. It's just been really fun. It's soft.
So how long do you think it'll take you to do a pattern?
I'm hoping I can get a sock done mid-August, mid to end of August. If I can get, assuming the pattern that I choose works out on the first try, which we never know.
So are you're creating a pattern from scratch?
Yes.
But you have in your head
kind of what I'd like.
What's going to happen
right.
with this.
So I have to kind of play with that a little bit, but I'm thinking I could at least get one of the pair finished. And then start the write-up process and the testing process from there and do my second sock based on the pattern I wrote. So hopefully end of August, early September, this will go live, and then you guys will
be a nice
have,
color for September.
Yeah. Isn't that fun though?
That is.
So thank you, Sarah, and I will certainly be showing progress.
Does she do all shibori dyeing? Or?
No, she's got lots of different stuff. Oh yeah, you should check out her website. I'll put a little thing there on the website. But she's got 6 or 7 different dye styles, and her stuff is beautiful. So, and she's from the UK, which I like. I'm like, ooh, it's foreign yarn.
It's foreign.
Yeah. So and that's
Nice.
just fun too. You know, I know Canada's technically foreign, but it's a little bit closer. To have your yarn come from over the ocean is kind of a treat.
Yes.
So
It's
yeah.
well traveled.
So I'm having fun with that, and I'll keep you guys posted.
Cool. That's
on
so
that process.
exciting.
Yeah, I am pretty excited about it. So those are my things I'm working on, and I do have it finished.
You do?
Oh
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Little baby sweater. It's actually probably closer to a 12-month sweater, and it's really, really, really stretchy, so it probably
Oh my
could
gosh, it's so
go
cute.
even bigger.
Aw.
But this is, I haven't made this in a long time. This was my very first design. It's called the Ewok Sweater, because that was my son's nickname when he was baby. And this is based on my favorite sweater that he had. But it was like, you know, the little teeny 3-month size.
Right.
So I retro worked it and made it bigger so that he could have another one when he got bigger. But this is the first one I've made since then, and he's 8 now, 8.5. So
was it as
fun.
easy as you remember?
I would do a little bit different because this one's all seamed, and now I know more about working in the round. So probably if I was writing it now, I would have written it in one piece instead of in two. And then the sleeves would have been picked up and knit in the round as well, instead of having a seam. But there's pluses and minuses to both.
It did turn out cute. So do you have a notebook of patterns, or did you go back and look at the sweater, or like did you have it written down?
It's written, it's published.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's out there. It's on Ravelry. I just haven't made it in a long time. It's free, so I think because of when I published it, it was early on comparatively to when many of the patterns are being put out now. And it was done, like I wrote it up on a blog and then just copy and pasted. So it's not, you know, it's not super beautifully formatted. It's not the finest work in the world, but it's correct. It
That's
makes
really
a
what
sweater.
counts.
Yeah, and it was good for me to go back and read it and make it, because then I can see, you know, should I make updates to this pattern. I mean, even though it's free and nobody's losing money because they can't make the final piece, it's nice to know that it actually comes out with what you want it to
Right.
do. It turns out to be a sweater, not a, I don't know, whatever. And I did a couple of modifications in the stripe sequence, and I made my neck a little bit lower than mostly because I was running out of yarn. But I think it's really cute.
Do what you gotta do.
Yeah,
Right?
and this is a present for a new baby that's coming.
That's really
So,
cute.
not mine. Make that clear. Not my baby. But yeah, so this is gonna be. I like the little cables down the arm.
Yeah. Really cute.
Yeah.
Really cute.
And that's what I've been doing. I've had to get these couple things done as the month is waning. I gotta get the finished things finished. So that's me.
Good times. So we're gonna move on to painting.
Yeah, which I am completely unfamiliar with.
Have you ever painted?
Just for fun, kind of. I did that, like I was talking last time, I did that printmaking class, but that's not really paint.
No.
That's just sticking paint on something.
Right.
So no, I guess I can't say I really have done much painting.
Okay. Well, maybe you learned something today.
I'm sure I will.
So, I am by no means a painter. I just enjoy doing it for fun. So, I have never actually I took a painting class as an adult, but, you know, you could spend years and years and years in college
Yeah.
doing painting and learning techniques, and yeah, so this is just beginner. We're going to introduce you to the different kinds of painting you can do that are easily accessible, and we'll go from there.
Sounds
maybe
good.
Maybe we'll make pictures.
Something will appear. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but yeah, I'm excited.
All right, stick around.
Be right back.
So today we're going to talk about painting. I am by no means an expert painter. I just enjoy dabbling in it because I find it really relaxing and fun to play with color. If you've never painted before, it can be overwhelming if you go to the paint store or the paint section of the craft store, because there's all these different kinds. So today we're going to talk about what the different kinds are, what they can do, and what you need to get yourself started painting. So the first thing that you need is paint. What I have here is I have watercolor paint. These are watercolors. This is acrylic paint, and this is oil paint. Now watercolors If you remember as a kid, we used to get those little pans and it had these little colors in it. And I remember how frustrated I was that you'd use that little plastic brush and you could never get enough color on it. And so I really thought I didn't like watercolor because of that. Paint is like buying a car or an appliance. The more money you spend, the better quality it is. That's all there is to it. So you need to buy the paint that you can afford. If you go to the art section of Hobby Lobby, of Michael's, and you buy watercolors, you're going to get a better quality paint than you did in those little containers that you had when you were a kid. So for example, this set that I just bought, this set was $36 for the regular price of this. These paints are about $20. These are Reeves. Winston & Newton is another popular brand for watercolors. The difference between these are pan watercolors. So you need to wet your brush, wet this, and then you can start to paint. You can also wet your brush, get some on your brush, and mix colors over here on your palette. With these in the tube, you open the tube and you squeeze out the paint onto your palette, and then you work from there, and you can have a cup of water to dip your brush in. I personally like the tubes because I feel like you can get a lot more color at one time. This, you're constantly putting your brush in. The other thing too that I found with the pan paints is that if you don't rinse your brush really well between paints, you're getting it in different colors. So with these, I just find a new spot. I want to mix a new color. I find a new spot over here. I put 2 colors. I can mix it with my brush. If I mix it again over here, well, I'm mixing it on my palette rather than inside my tube. So those are 2 methods. And you know, I'm going to take this when I travel because it's compact, and like I said, these colors are work pretty well because I used some little pan colors the last time I was on vacation. This is a little bit bulkier to take with you, especially if you want to paint outside or something. So that's a watercolor, and basically watercolor is what it says. You're using water to paint. With acrylics, acrylics are they're made with acrylic, and they have more brilliant colors sometimes than watercolors. And they go on real thick and nice. And generally this is what we all tend to use. You know, if you go to one of those painting classes that they have, they'll use acrylics. When your kids graduate from the Crayola washable paints, they'll likely graduate to this when you're ready for them and you trust them that they're not going to get it all over the floor. This is the kind of stuff that if you get it on your clothes, it could stain. But if you get it out quickly, you might be able to get it out. These are nice. They're beautiful. They're brilliant colors. They go on easy. You can mix them easily, and you can mix them on the canvas. You can mix them on a palette like this, and they make really beautiful colors, and they dry quickly. This is oil paint. Now, this particular set is water-based oil paint, or they're water mixable, which means I can use my brush in water to mix them. If you get ones that are not water mixable, you then, it's a whole different ball of wax, which I know nothing about because I haven't used those. But my brother was an artist, and he was the one that recommended go with the water mix as a beginner because the cleanup is easier. You don't need to use chemicals like turpentine to clean your brushes. You can wash it all in the sink and be good. And like I said, you can mix it with water. The great thing about oil colors is they have texture to them. So you can make glops of paint on your painting and it will stay up like that. These come in tubes all the time. Again, what you buy, what you pay for is what you get. So this particular set here was $45 at Hobby Lobby. Oil paints are expensive. This tube, my daughter was doing a painting and she needed a lot of blue and white. So this tube itself was $9. So a lot bigger investment. Also, oil paints smell. They, just like any sort of oil paint, they do stink. And it takes 5 to 20 days for them to dry. A lot of them are touchable. The surface is dry in 4 to 5 days. But for it to be truly dry, it takes up to 20 days. So it's something to keep in mind depending on what kind of painter you are. The great thing about this is you paint one day. It's not completely dry. You can wait till it's semi-dry, bring another color in and mix it. So this is sort of a little more advanced type of painting. But it is a lot of fun when you start to get in there with that, because the colors are brilliant, and like I said, it's really thick. It's like, can be like toothpaste if you don't dilute it. Some of the other types of watercolors are, I'm sorry, oil paints, you do need to buy different types of fixatives to mix with them, to dilute them, to make them thinner. So that's the basics of the types of paints that we have. I would suggest, if you're starting off, start with watercolors or acrylics. Oh, these, by the way, these tubes are about $4 a tube if you buy them at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. If you can get smaller tubes, I believe. But you know, if you get a couple of your basic colors, you can also mix colors. So it's a good way to start. So next we're going to talk a little bit about paper. So we have our acrylic paints, our watercolors, and our oils. When you're buying paper, again, can be really overwhelming when you walk into the paper aisle, and this is, you know, not even a quarter of the different types of paper out there that you can get. So let me start with some basics. So all paper, or these paper companies, they have different series, and that has to do with, you know, what's in it. Some of it's recycled. I think the green ones tend to be recycled paper. It tells you what they're used for. It tells you how many pounds it is. And so that can help you figure out what kind of paper to get. This is sketch paper. This is drawing paper. I actually wouldn't recommend, like if you have kids and they go through a million sheets of paper at a time, I would start with one of these, because these are pretty cheap. You can get them at Michael's in 5-packs, or you can get them, a lot of times they have buy one, get one free. So I wouldn't recommend printer paper, because that's really, really thin and it gets saturated and you end up with paint all over your table. So drawing paper, this drawing paper is 70 pound, this sketch paper is 50 pound, and I know you guys can't feel it at home, but you can feel the difference, because actually I have 2 sheets. So if you kids who use a ton of paper and you're trying to figure out what's an economical way to introduce them to painting, I know my kids would just like paint and paint and paint and paint, and we would go through an entire pad a day. I would start with drawing paper. Sketch paper is a little bit too, it's a little too thin. Again, it's almost like printer paper, not quite that thin, and it's really smooth, okay? Drawing paper tends to have a little bit more texture to it, and so the paint can get caught in those lines. So that's a good economical way to start. If you're looking to, and as you can see, paper comes in all different sizes. So this is another drawing tablet that we have. And this one is actually, this drawing paper is 80 pound. So this is a lot thicker. You can see some past sketches. This is when my kids were way little. Oh my goodness. But a lot thicker than the other two. A good all-purpose paper is mixed media. So this one's a 90 pound. So nice and thick. Can hold watercolors, although I recommend watercolor paper for watercolors. It has a little bit of texture to it. And so this is also a good, like if you're moving beyond the drawing paper, you're getting a little more serious, I would go with the mixed media. Because like I said, it's just good all around. You can even just use it for drawing or whatever, but it holds the paint pretty well. Once you get pretty serious about watercolors, even if you don't get serious about watercolors, I highly recommend a watercolor paper. I love watercolor paper. It's really thick. And I tend to rip it in smaller pieces. I like to work on a smaller canvas, and so I tend to take these and cut them, or I just rip them, and you can see all that texture in there. There's so much texture on this, and you can see there's a textured side, and then this is the side where they pressed it. So go for the textured side. It really holds the paint in there when you're doing watercolors. And one of the techniques for watercolors is to cover the whole paper with water before you start painting. And so this doesn't get super flimsy. I mean, it gets wet and it will curl, but it doesn't get super flimsy like printer paper or drawing paper. So I sometimes even use, I like anything on watercolor paper because I love the texture of it and I love the weight of it. It is expensive. So a tablet like this is 12 sheets. If you look at this mixed media, and granted these are different sizes, but any of you who are regular visitors to Michael's know these tend to be like $10 to $15 per tablet, depending what you're getting. There's 40 sheets in here. There's 12 sheets in here. These tend to come in 12 sheets because there's 12 sheets in this one as well. It is expensive, but it's well worth it if you really enjoy painting. So you can also work on canvases. So canvases come in a variety of different sizes, and they come in all different shapes and textures now. So I saw some that were this big. I got these that I thought we might work on today, which are these cute little flat boards. And you know, if you enjoy trying to paint, but you're not planning to open an art gallery, after a while, what do you do with all the canvases? So when you have things that are a little bit flatter, these aren't as thick as the canvases, it's a little easier to store or find a home for it. Some people will cover the canvases with gesso, and that's sort of the normal that you do when you're doing oils. I just paint right on it. So you can get canvases, like I said, all sizes, from teeny tiny little cute canvases all the way up to huge ones that will take up a whole wall in your house. And they come now, I've seen some with burlap, I've seen some that are boxes. So this, again, you can paint with any of these on canvas. But I would stick with the watercolor paint for watercolors, and the canvases I tend to use for acrylics and oils. Oils tend to be best on a canvas. And so when you're working, you can work just on a table like this. You can work on an easel. Watercolors don't tend to work on an easel because the color will run. But oils tend to be nice because the oils are shiny, and when you have it flat like this, you keep getting shadows, and the light reflects off the paint, so it's sometimes hard, if you don't have good lighting, it's hard to see what you're painting. So that's about it for paper. So now we'll move on to brushes. Right. So brushes, I'm not enough of a painter to really care a whole lot about my brushes. Brushes, if you've ever gone to the store, you can spend $12 on a single brush that is that big. So your best bet when you're buying brushes, I mean, like a lot of these that I have, ooh, as you can see, that one just came apart. This is one of those really cheap sets that I bought for my kids, because really they don't need, you know, brushes made with squirrel tail or horsehair. This one is actually a nice brush. It's made in Germany, and it's from Blick Company, which we are fortunate enough to have in our community, which is a really wonderful art supply store. So this one's a really nice brush. But a lot of my brushes, it's just brushes that I've collected over the years. I have these big ones. I have all kinds of little ones in here. This is actually a set that I bought when my daughter was working on her oil painting. And you can see it'll tell you what it's used for. This is for oil, watercolor, acrylics, and tempera. So these are all-purpose brushes, but you can spend as little or as much on brushes as you want. Again, the more you spend, the better quality of the brushes, the better. You're not going to get, these are really cheap. I don't know what this is, honestly. It's probably nylon or something. It's probably the same thing they put in brooms. The stroke texture is going to be different than if you use something that is actually made for a specific color, or there seriously are, the different brushes are made of different animal hair. So some is horsehair, some is, I think, squirrel tail. It all depends. So, you know, that's something to keep in mind. You're going to get a different texture depending what you get. I would stay away from these. These are the ones from our paint set when we were kids, and they have these really hard nylon bristles that are probably also from brooms. Those don't really have nice texture. And you're just not going to be very successful with them. I like a soft brush, and there's really nice ones. There's fans, there's all different kinds of brushes, but brushes are really up to you. And again, like, you know, you're going to collect them over time, so you might want to start with a nice all-purpose set that's, you know, pretty inexpensive, and as you start to say, this is something I really want to do, you can go and say, you know what, I want a really, really thin brush. I'm going to spend, you know, $6 on this brush because I know that's what I want. Or the brushes that are fanned out, people like those too, because you can use those for blending. So these are just some examples of different things that you can do with paints. We started with watercolor. So this is a watercolor painting that my daughter did. And she drew lines on it and then she splattered watercolor paints on this. She did this for a project. And then I did, I showed some of these before. I did this one last year. This is a watercolor that I did. And these are my watercolors that I did this past, just a few weeks ago. But you can see that you can get really bright colors, but they tend to be a little bit more muted. It's up to you what kind of painter you want to be. These are acrylics. This is a painting I did in a class that I haven't quite finished. And I actually added horsehair to this to give it texture. And it's glued on with gesso, or I'm sorry, gloss medium and varnish. And so that's how I put that on and made it stick there. And that's with varnish, when you get to a point where you're done with your painting, you can put a varnish on it, and that way, like if someone drips coffee on it or whatever, it won't get ruined. This is another one I did. I did this in one of those painting classes where everybody goes and there's like one painter and there's wine. Except that I decided I really didn't want an orange pumpkin. I just did it completely different colors. And we did some techniques in the background here where you take the back of your brush and you scrape the paint back off. So there's lots of other techniques that you can use when you're doing watercolors. I tend to blot it a lot with a paper towel. With acrylics and oils, you can blot it with a paper towel and that will take some paint off. It will also give it texture. This is an acrylic painting that my daughter did. So you can see there is some texture to it. I'm going to get thrown out of the museum for touching the paintings. But there's not a whole lot of texture to it. And she just had a lot of fun with different colors. This is another one I did in a painting class in which it was a mixed media class, and we actually glued things on with the paint. So this is some tissue paper. These are some, actually, these are antler that I had brought. And this is all about putting things on, and then you can rip things off to reveal things and paint over. And we were learning about painting layers and layers and layers, which is a whole other concept beyond just like painting what you see. So that was a lot of fun, and we used stampers, we used all kinds of things. It was really a great class. And just introduced me to a lot of different ways of expressing yourself through painting that isn't just about paint. And then this oil painting, this is the project my daughter had to do. It's called Starry Night Over Rhone, which is a Van Gogh, and she had to do a masterpiece. And so it's really interesting. I had never copied a masterpiece before, and I have to say it's a really interesting exercise in learning paint techniques. It was really frustrating for her. Extremely frustrating. One, because she likes paint to be flat, and she shouldn't have done this because she was doing a Van Gogh in oil. He's a post-impressionistic. There was a lot of texture to his canvases, and she didn't want that. She wanted it flat. But, you know, she had a lot of trouble with the stars, and so I sat down with her and we experimented with different things to get what he had on his painting. And so it was really fascinating to copy a master work and see how these things come about. Okay, so we are going to set about painting. Julia decided to do watercolor.
Yeah.
You don't have to tape your paper down, but you can. You can just use a regular piece of cardboard. This huge painting that I did, it's just on a big piece of cardboard. I actually have this easel, and we're going to tape it. The nice thing about taping is you do get a nice edge.
Okay.
If you're particular. It also keeps your paper from moving on you when you're working. So you can just use masking tape or painter's tape. Ooh, that's not a nice edge.
That's not a good edge.
Edge.
I will try again.
It was hard for me to reach over there. You can do that.
I don't do a lot of taping. Even when I paint the house, I don't do a lot of taping.
Yeah, I don't either. I just freehand it.
That's all the painting I've done lately. I've been painting my radiators.
Fun!
And that's exciting work.
I bet. I just finished painting my son's room. So, with watercolors, you can just take whatever you want, whatever colors you want to do, put them on your palette and mix them. You can put water on it first, and then when you put the paint on, it's gonna spread.
Okay.
I think that I'm gonna work in oil. So this is the palette that my daughter used for when she did Starry Night, and there are big, huge chunks of paint on it that are dried up because she didn't clean it very well. And then you can also get these. These are all different paint palette knives. So you can take things, you could take the paint, but you can also get things like this. This is called light modeling paste. And it's actually a paste. Oh, I didn't use it yet. It's a paste so that you can make texture on the painting and then paint over it.
Interesting. All right.
Or you can combine it with paint to make a color that and have like the color be three-dimensional.
Okay.
So I'm going to work a little bit in that.
So many things to learn.
There are so many things to learn. There are. You can try one of these brushes if you want. There's a new one. So my suggestion, if you're first starting painting and you think, I don't even know what to paint. I brought this vase of flowers in for us.
Yes.
To paint. Couple of things. It can be overwhelming to paint this whole vase of flowers. So start with something simple. Pull something out. Just do one flower. The interesting thing about painting that I think is the difference between what you actually see and what you think you're looking at.
Okay.
So to me, this flower looks brown and yellow.
Right.
But in reality, right now, it's white right there because there's highlights and it's actually almost brown here on the petals. And so
that's true.
If you want to do a little color exploration, take something that's monochromatic like this leaf, which again initially looks green.
Right,
but if you really look at it, there's yellow in the veins, there's some white spots on it, the buds coming out, and there's lighter green and yellow there. And so that can be a good way for you to start and not be overwhelmed by like, I can't paint a whole vase of flowers.
Or you can just dive in.
You can just dive in and start painting.
Which is
This is the last thing I wanted to share before I start painting. My mom brought these for me from Hawaii. I don't know what they're called, but it's from a tree in Hawaii, and she said that people use them as paintbrushes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm sure I could sell them. They would be really expensive paintbrushes. All right. What colors do
I should have probably started with the green.
You can take any color you want. You have water. I feel like I don't want to mess that up.
This is where the perfectionist tendencies.
Nope, just go for it.
Oh, that's a good brush.
That's a great brush. That's for like, doing stuff. You can dabble with it. You can make lines.
I apologize. I really have a major frog all of a sudden.
It's okay. So you had asked about these kind of acrylics.
That's what I pretty much buy.
I mean, you can definitely use these for painting. A lot of times these tend to be for like furniture glass ceramics, and so their hold may be different. They're made to stick to ceramics rather than paper. It doesn't mean you can't use them. But I think of these as craft paints rather than fine art paints.
All right.
Yeah, those tend to get a little bit of water in them, so sometimes you gotta squeeze. It's like taking the ketchup out of the bottle. You make sure you're not the first person, or you get the water part.
That's all right.
All right.
Okay, let's see how
What
this
color
works.
do I need? What color do I need? All right. Well, I hope you learned something about painting today. Did you learn anything?
I did. I learned quite a bit. I'm not going to understand it because I can't get the frog to go right now. But yeah, there's a lot of little things that I guess I just never realized the differences, like why you would use one paint over another, or I don't know. It was cool. It was very informing to me.
So you're gonna become an artist now, a fine artist?
Probably
painter?
not, but
Come on, Julia, you know you want to.
gosh, it's always fun to try something new, though. That if I didn't continue to learn stuff, then I'd be bored. Like even I taught a class the other day on the silk hankies, and just watching everybody else do what I was showing them was just like, oh, that's a different way to do it. And the learning can never stop. That's probably one of the most important things that I think we all forget, is that when you're an adult, you can still learn.
It is fascinating teaching classes too, because people do things like you're like, well, I always do it that way. I don't. Sometimes it's, I've tried it 4 times. I that way doesn't work. I can't tell you why right now because I don't remember.
Yeah.
But don't do it that way.
Right.
And other times I'm like, I never would have thought to do that.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
Yeah, and there's just no one right way. So even like I do these things that aren't familiar to me, and I think, oh, I'm going to do it wrong. But really, it is what it is, and you enjoy it. As long as you're enjoying the process, I guess that's fine.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us as always, and check us out at wholelottacraft.com and on the Ravelry group, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And is that it?
I think that's it.
Okay. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice work.
Yeah, a bunch of green lines so far. We'll get there. It'll be something.